Every time you pay with your debit or credit card, you probably feel safer because of that little chip. But what if I told you that chip was never designed to protect you in the first place? In 2015, one quiet rule change left a blind spot in payment terminals at Target, Walmart, Costco, every store you walk into this week. And right now, there's a technique to exploit that blind spot silently without ever even touching your card or wallet. And it's called ghost tapping. My name is Boyd Clewis, and I spent almost 15 years in payment security. And in this video, I'm going to show you the real reason the chip was added to your card, how tap to pay creates an invisible lane that makes ghost tapping possible, and the exact 3 moves I use so that even if someone ghost taps my card, I see it, I stop it, and I make the bank eat the loss. Not me. I'm going to show you the silent attack that doesn't even need your card, just someone close enough to you. To understand why you're vulnerable right now, we have to take a look at why this chip was actually put in your wallet in the first place. You were probably told it was the ultimate upgrade for your personal security. And a lot of y'all believed it, including me. But here's the reality. Countries like France had chip cards back in the 90s. The US dragged its feet into 2015. So why the sudden rush? In 2013, hackers breached Target and stole over 40 million credit and debit cards. The fallout was massive, and American banks were bleeding money trying to cover the counterfeit fraud. The banks needed a way out, so on October 1st, 2015, they executed what was the financial industry calls the liability shift. They essentially told stores you have to upgrade your terminals to read chips, and if you don't, any fraud that happens at your register, you pay for it, not us. Preparing for that shift cost the industry an estimated $10.5 billion, and the stores you shop at every week footed the bulk of the bill for the new hardware. So what am I saying? The chips weren't rolled out to protect your bank account. They were rolled out to protect your bank. Literally, it was a $10 billion legal maneuver to protect the bank's bottom line. When I read the details of the liability shift as a security consultant, my mindset immediately changed. I realized if the banks are legally washing their hands on in-store fraud, I have to build my own firewall. And so the very first move I made, I went straight to my banking app and completely disabled overdraft protection on my checking accounts. Most people think overdraft protection is a safety net. In reality, it's a bridge for scammers. If a criminal bypasses store security and drains your primary checking account, overdraft protection automatically pulls from your savings to cover the rest. Turn it off now and cut the bridge. That way, the financial transaction simply declines and your savings are still intact. But here's what nobody talked about after the 2015 deadline passed. The same stores that got hit in 2013, big giants like Target, Home Depot, Walmart, all upgraded the hardware, but upgrading the hardware created a new entry point because the terminals that replaced these old magnetic stripe readers, they all had tap to pay built in. But that is the blind spot that this chip was never designed to cover. So here's where it gets interesting. The chip in your card works on direct contact. It only activates when it's physically inserted into a reader and the reader sends a specific electronic signal to it. This actually is a solid design. The problem is tap to pay doesn't use the chip at all. When you tap your card or phone, you're using something that's called near field communication or NFC. It's just a radio frequency. It broadcasts a short range signal and any device within a few centimeters tuned to that frequency can receive it, completely bypassing the chip because it never wakes up. It's not a part of this process. Your card is essentially a passive antenna. It doesn't need to be powered on. It doesn't need to be taken out of your wallet. As long as it's within range of an NFC reader, it will respond to that signal automatically because that's exactly what it was designed to do. In a controlled environment, the range is about 4 centimeters. Here's something you probably didn't know. Research has been posted by security teams that have demonstrated modified NFC readers can interact with cards at distances well beyond what the payment industry publicly acknowledges. Think about Walmart self-checkout. You tap and you walk. Think about the line at Costco on a Saturday. Think about the tap terminal at your grocery store where 6 people are standing within arm's reach of each other. Every one of those environments has someone's NFC signal broadcasting, and none of those terminals were designed to verify who's actually doing the tapping. And that is exactly what ghost tapping is. The day I read the technical documentation on NFC range vulnerabilities, I made this one change immediately. I threw out my wallet that I loved and switched to an RFID-blocking wallet. The material inside the wallet creates a Faraday cage. It physically absorbs and redirects the radio frequencies before it ever reaches your card. No signal gets in, no signal gets out. But here's why it matters. That wallet protects your physical signal. It does nothing about what the bank does after a transaction goes through. Because buried inside the terms and conditions you agreed to when you opened your account, there's a legal clause that your banking is counting on you to never read, and it directly determines whether or not you get your money back in the event that there's fraudulent activity. Regulation E is a federal law designed to protect consumers in exactly this situation. On paper, it says that if an unauthorized electronic transaction hits your account, your bank is required to investigate and reimburse you. Most people hear that and they feel protected. I heard that and immediately started reading the fine print. Because in security, the gap between what a law says and what it actually does is usually where we find the problem. And the problem here is the one word: authorized. When an NFC reader pulls the signal from your card, even without your knowledge, even while it's sitting in your pocket at the Walmart self-checkout, the bank system records that as an authorized transaction. Your card responded. Your card's credentials were transmitted. From the bank's technical standpoint, the transaction looks identical to you voluntarily tapping at the register. So when you call to dispute it, the bank doesn't automatically say, "You're right, here's your money." They open an investigation, and during that investigation, the burden of proof sits with you. You have to demonstrate that you did not make those transactions. But there's a second layer to this that most people never find. This is from the actual Regulation E documentation. If you report an unauthorized transaction within 2 business days of discovering it, your maximum liability is $50. The bank covers the rest. Wait between 2 and 60 days and your exposure jumps to $500. Miss the 60-day window entirely? The bank is under no federal obligation to cover any of it. The entire protection structure is built on a clock, and that clock starts the moment the transaction appears, not the moment you notice it. Here's how I neutralize this entirely. I go into my banking app and set custom transactions alerts for every purchase over 1 cent. And I really do mean a penny. The moment any transaction hits my account, any amount, any merchant, I get a bank notification with a timestamp. That timestamp is not just a notification, it's a legal record. I was made aware of the transaction in real time. If the transaction is fraudulent, I have documented proof exactly when I discovered it, locking in that 2 business day review window automatically. The bank cannot argue the timeline when the evidence is sitting right there in my app history. You're not trusting the bank systems to protect you. You're building your own paper trail that forces their systems to work in your favor. But even with the paper trail, there's still one attack that makes all of this significantly more complicated, and it doesn't require your card to be anywhere near the terminal. The attack that I mentioned before, that break is called an NFC relay attack. And it's different from everything we've covered so far. Everything in this video has been about someone getting physically close to your card, a few inches at a crowded Costco checkout, a packed Walmart aisle. That proximity is actually a limiting factor. The criminal has to be in the same space as you. A relay attack removes that limitation entirely. Now, this one is a little interesting because you have 2 devices and 2 people working together in a coordinated attack. The first gets near the card just enough to receive the NFC signal. The signal is then transmitted in real time to a second device standing at an actual payment terminal. Across the room, across the building, the terminal sees a legit card signal. The transaction goes through and you were never near the register. Here's why I walked you through the chip history, the liability shift, the NFC frequency, and the Regulation E timeline before bringing you to this very moment. Because these 3 moves we covered Cutting the overdraft bridge, blocking the physical signal, and owning your legal timestamps, those aren't just a response to ghost tapping, they are foundational layers of your personal payment security. Regardless of how the threat evolves, the relay attack is more sophisticated, but a criminal relaying your NFC signal, it still produces a transaction on your account. And if you have real-time alerts set up for 1 cent or more, you will know about it before they walk out of the building. The system was not built with you in mind, but you can still build your own layer on top of it. If you want to go deeper on exactly how this relay attack works, the hardware involved, and the environments where it's most active, and one specific setting inside your phone that most people never touch, that's in the next video. If you found value in this video, please share it with someone who taps their card every day without even thinking twice. Drop a question about bank alerts, settings in the comments. I'll read them all. I'm Boyd Clewis, and I will see you on the next one.